Look, I get it, we all have busy things to do. Some of us can't sit down and watch a nearly 4-hour Conor McGregor documentary. I am not one of those people. First day it came out right away, watch all of it, and I gotta say, I very much enjoyed it, but I know a lot of you guys don't want to sit down and necessarily watch this, or just want to know, is it even worth watching? But luckily, guys, I am your savior. Today I'm going to be talking about the Conor McGregor Netflix documentary that came out today, May 17th, titled McGregor Forever. I'm going to be talking about how many episodes there are, what episodes cover each. If you guys saw it already, you guys will hear my thoughts, so no matter what, you guys should definitely go watch this video. Now, if you guys have been watching the channel for the past couple days, you guys will know that we are almost at 11,000 subscribers, which I can't believe. So if you guys want to chip in and help, just hit the subscribe button. I know there's tons of you guys that watch the channel but just don't subscribe. I see the percentages and the analytic. Guys, just hit the subscribe button, just support. We're trying to get to 20k by the end of the year, so just hit it. And without further ado, let's just get into the video. Alright, Conor McGregor returns, and I thought that this release date for the documentary was brilliant. Right before the Ultimate Fighter, getting you hype for the Ultimate Fighter, and then when the Ultimate Fighters finish your hype for Conor McGregor's return, we're gonna have like 8 months of just Conor McGregor hype, and it's brilliant. Like, this pay-per-view I think will do insane. It's being marketed brilliantly, and one of the first things I was worried about when I heard that there was going to be a documentary was I don't want to hear the Conor McGregor story. Like, we all know how Conor McGregor came up. We all know his story, that he was like a plumber or whatever, became an MMA fighter in Ireland before it was even cool, broke out of the scene, got to the UFC, knocked out Jose Aldo in 13 seconds. We all know the story, but one of the things that I really enjoyed about this documentary is that it actually doesn't really even cover that. Like, they have a little quick recap in the beginning of the movie, rather the beginning of the show, because it's 4 episodes, but they have a recap in the beginning of the show that's about maybe 5 minutes long, that kind of just recaps everything. But the show really starts in 2018 after Conor McGregor loses to Floyd Mayweather and is about to fight Khabib, and there's 4 episodes to this. Each episode is about Conor McGregor's last 4 fights, up to Khabib all the way to the last Dustin Poirier fight. And this is refreshing because I don't think a lot of people know exactly what happened behind the scenes, because this is all really new. Like, we don't really know stories, we don't know injuries, and the first episode is very interesting, specifically talking about injuries. We get into the whole backstory of Conor McGregor's foot injury.
You must understand, my foot was a balloon. You know what I mean? My toes came out of the socket.
And I felt the best thing that the show does, which it does in every episode, is it really helps you understand the motivated Conor. We've always heard, oh, Conor's not motivated, this and that, but as I'll talk about later, especially in episode 2, we find out kind of why Conor McGregor wasn't so motivated, and it might not even be necessarily his fault. Well, in this scenario, you know, the documentary kind of makes it seem like Conor McGregor lost the Khabib fight basically because he was fired up, he took it too personal, was in too much of a negative space, and just wanted to go out and hurt him instead of just putting on a good mixed martial artist performance. And I don't know if I agree with that necessarily. Like, I think that Khabib just really has Conor's number, but I get what they're trying to do, and it was really interesting. One of the things that I really enjoyed was the behind the scenes of the aftermath of the Khabib fight, because that is something that I've always looked for years. I've been always curious, you know, what happened after Conor went to his locker room after Khabib jumped at Dylan Dennis and John Kavanaugh. Well, we find out, and it was pretty interesting. Conor obviously devastated from the loss, and Dana has told this story before, but Conor's like, listen, I don't really care about Khabib jumping in the cage. All I care about is the fact that I lost, and you can tell he's extremely devastated. The documentary also kind of paints Conor McGregor's change to this nice guy persona, the kind of persona we see in the Cowboy fight and the Dustin 2 fight, due to him doing some community service in his neighborhood, getting a more positive outlook in life, and I can kind of believe it. You know, you could see in the documentary, Conor does look happy talking to him. You can even see him talking to his girlfriend or fiance about doing the community service and how it's affecting him. So then I think that kind of leads to his better outlook on life in the Cowboy Cerrone fight and in the Dustin fight. And the second episode is the Cowboy Cerrone fight. Basically, the Cowboy fight happens kind of near the beginning of the episode, but the rest of it is talking about COVID-19, and this was really interesting because if you guys do remember, in Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 2, a lot of the criticism about Conor McGregor was that boxing style. And the documentary kind of makes it very clear that the reason that Conor was training boxing so much wasn't even because, you know, he just wanted to. It was just because COVID restricted him so much that really he was just restricted to that kind of pad work, and also that he wanted to stay active. You guys will probably remember that McGregor leaked DMs with him and Dana White saying he wanted to fight 4 times 1 year. Now, for some reason, he wanted to fight Diego Sanchez twice, but his matchmaking makes no sense. He also wanted to fight Frankie Edgar. It was weird ass matchmaking, but regardless, he did want to be active in 2020, but the UFC, and they don't really make this clear in the documentary, but the UFC really didn't want Conor McGregor to fight because they wanted a crowd, because they wanted to make more money off Conor. Conor just fighting off pure pay-per-view sales would definitely do numbers, but not as much numbers with a live gate, and that's why they wanted to wait. So I thought it did a good job explaining the boxing stance. And then the Dustin 2 and Dustin 3 fight, the episodes go really into depth with that. And the third episode, I think that one's definitely the weakest episode, but I did like that we got to see, you know, after the fight, how much Dustin really punished Conor's leg. Like, he was really not able to move at all. We saw this in a BT Sports video where they showed it behind the scenes. It was kind of like that, but they had a whole documentary documentary about it, he literally could not move. His leg was swollen up. It really shows how much the calf kicks really did affect Conor in that matchup. And one of my favorite episodes was the 4th episode. That episode is about him preparing for the 3rd Dustin fight, as well as him breaking his leg and all of that. And I gotta say, this makes me extremely disappointed that Conor broke his leg. I thought that the Conor going into the 3rd Dustin fight was a pretty good Conor. Yes, he was losing the fight during the end of the round, but he did have a lot of good moments. People forget that he did connect the left hand within the first like 20 seconds. Just saw that the UFC did a deal with Sydney, Australia, but that's separate news. Anyway, I really like this episode because it really did show Conor getting back to it, using a lot of his kicks, looking smooth with those spinning kicks, kind of looking like the old Conor. It was really disappointing that we didn't get to see the full Conor. It sucks that he broke his leg. I would have really liked to see that Conor a little bit more active, even if he did lose to Dustin. How would he do against a Justin Gaethje or a Michael Chandler at that time? I'm curious to see. Another big point in this documentary, which is a point that a lot of people are probably tuning into, was something that Conor hinted at years ago when he broke his leg and said, hey, that this documentary has proof that Conor had already injured his leg before the fight. Dustin had claimed that he was checking the kick and that's what broke his leg. Turns out, no, it was pretty clear. The surgeon that Conor went to said, hey, you should probably rest the leg, not kick with it, and then just use it on the octagon. You could see throughout the documentary that he does not do this, and that's Conor's fault. Like, so my understanding, it really seemed like that Conor kept kicking with this leg, but that's what fighters are gonna do, right? So I guess you can't really blame them. And they show that there's like a big bruise in Conor's bone in his leg, and they also explain why that area is so sensitive. They did a really good job at explaining it. They're also saying that there's a stress fracture in his leg, and then they really go into the extent of how bad Conor broke his leg, like saying he broke his tibia and his fibula. And I'm not a doctor, but I know that shit is pretty bad. And the documentary kind of ends on an uplifting note, kind of seeing how Conor McGregor is training again, lifting weights, even with the leg. At the end of the documentary, he's even talking to his doctor, like saying, hey, can I go bike? Trying to figure out what ways he can train, kind of making it seem that the Conor that we're going to see next is the most motivated Conor we will ever see. Now, if that's the truth, that remains to be seen. I think we're going to have to see whenever these two fight, most likely at the end of the year. It's looking like, seeing that the UFC is now going to Sydney in September instead of the T-Mobile Arena, and Adesanya will probably fight on that card. So it's looking like either maybe MSG or December in T-Mobile Arena, but I'm gonna go with T-Mobile Arena because John Jones is most likely going to fight at MSG. But that was the documentary. What were my thoughts, guys? I really did enjoy it because this wasn't that. Like, we did see a lot of behind the scenes of his recent fights. This was a more recent Conor McGregor documentary, so I actually really did enjoy it. I think if you guys like MMA, you guys should definitely go check it out. However, I will say that if you're someone that doesn't know much about MMA or doesn't watch Conor McGregor or is just trying to learn about Conor McGregor through this, I don't think that this is the documentary for you. There's another Conor McGregor documentary. I'll put it on the screen. You should probably go check that one out if you want to know Conor McGregor's story, and then maybe then after that check out this documentary because this one is really good. McGregor Forever, I definitely really enjoyed it, and I'm more hyped than ever for The Ultimate Fighter and Conor McGregor's return. Like, this thing just got me pumped. Watched like 4 hours today and it was tough. Also good to see the MMA guru in this thing. Like, where was I? But I'm not going to be too offended because I did start this thing only recently. Wasn't there for the old Conor McGregor days. But guys, that's it. Let me know what you guys thought of the documentary if you guys watch it. Let me know if you guys want to see it. You guys are welcome. Now, you guys do not have to watch this documentary, but I definitely suggest you guys still check it out. There's a lot of good footage in there. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Like I always say, you guys are genuinely the best fan base in MMA. Thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.